Chris, what a disgusting, absolutely insane problem that we're facing with the VA. I mean, as I think back, and I know we talked about this, I reflect on my time as an intern and a young employee at the Department of Labor during the Bush administration. It's just astounding to me that bureaucrats would do that in a way that impacts people's lives. I mean, we're not talking about pushing paper here. These are people's lives that they're holding in their hands. And it's just astonishing that people would be so not just careless, but like we talked about, I mean, absolutely defiant because they don't want to do their job.
My emotions right now, Danielle, are a perfect mix between sadness and heartbreak and visceral and extreme anger
Yeah.
about this. This is the reason why people hate the government.
Yeah.
This is a textbook example of why the government does nothing well, why people don't trust the government, why people hate the government. We're talking about an agency here. I don't even know what the annual budget of the VA is, but I'm sure it's staggering. I'm sure. And it's all going to pay these bureaucrats and these administrators in the VA who are not only failing to respond to the urgent needs of our war heroes and our military veterans, they are actively sabotaging their ability to get well. And they're even I almost fell off of my chair when Darren said that supervisors within the VA reward their subordinates for reducing and denying veterans' requests to get contract care from other doctors, so they can keep them in this house of horrors, which is exactly what it is. It's a house of horrors. And, I resisted the urge to get angry on the show today when Darren said, and I know he didn't mean anything by this, when he said that, Doug Collins has a lot of other issues he's dealing with. I don't think there's no more important issue for Doug Collins to be dealing with than this issue. There are military veterans in the United States today, right now, who are probably about to kill themselves because they're being demoralized and crushed into the ground by the Veterans Administration in the United States of America. And they'll be dead tomorrow because of it. There is no higher priority for Doug Collins than to make sure. And it stuns me that with all the data that Darren presented to us today about what's going on inside the VA, that Doug Collins doesn't have the absolute authority to fire these people, to fire them directly.
And you think, Chris, when you think about a Republican form of government, you think about the austerity that our government structure was created to be, the agencies that are actually meant to exist, right? Department of Education, get rid of it. No one cares. There's tons of agencies. The IRS, please get rid of it. No one wants it anyway. There are agency after agency after agency that needs to be shrunk down or destroyed completely. The Veterans Affairs Agency is a mandate, is a responsibility of our government, of the people, to those who fought and served to defend and protect her. So I don't understand why this agency that has been, extremely well funded and extraordinarily poorly managed, it is in a position that, I know why it's in the position it's in, because this is the direction of government, right? This is just the direction of bloating, bureaucracy, lack of accountability. And this is what happens when your mandate is completely rudderless. It's time for someone to come in with a strong mandate. It's time for someone to come in and start firing people.
I could not agree with you more. I was a little concerned, and that's so well said, Danielle. I was concerned when I asked Darren directly, does Doug Collins know what is going on, the severity of this problem? And does he have the will and the backbone to do something about it, to make meaningful changes? And, he said he didn't know. He hoped so, but he doesn't know for sure. Does it not stun you that the head of the Veterans Administration does not know and does not have the data in front of him to be able to see how absolutely incompetent and hostile his agency is, and how the effect that it's having on our veterans? Why would he not know this?
Well, because it's almost impossible to know as an outsider coming in. This is one thing you and I talked about off air. Where he's coming into a hostile agency. He is the one person, one of the very few people that's been put in a position to clean this place up. Well, whenever you are the one person coming into this hostile agency, and they are, I mean, they're basically like some kind of bacteria trying to hide their malfeasance, trying to hold on to the status quo in a very parasitic manner. They're going out of their way to the bureaucrats in our government agencies, by and large, go out of their way to completely defend and protect the status quo, defend and protect their comfort, defend and protect their processes and their ideology. They're not operating in a way that makes it very clean cut for any outsider coming in to understand what's going on. I mean, Darren even mentioned that whenever he got in there, they would lie to his face. So you have to have, I agree with him, you have to have people who are willing to dig in and do the due diligence, and then they have to have the authority to terminate
Well,
people.
I don't, Danielle. I don't. I can appreciate what you're saying, but I don't accept that. Yeah, I don't believe that Doug Collins inherited a more corrupt, bureaucratic, bloated agency than Robert F. Kennedy Jr. inherited with Department of Health and Human Services. I don't believe that he inherited a more corrupt, politically correct, or more of a cesspool than Pete Hegseth inherited with the Department of Defense. I don't believe that that's an excuse. That's not an excuse. And if you know what's going on, including the fact that maybe these things aren't being reported, he needs to. I mean, he needs to be terminating or putting on administrative leave these regional administrators all over the country. The bottom line is they are not treating this issue with the urgency that it needs to be treated with. If Doug Collins' son had suffered war injury or was scarred by and traumatized by war, and he were on the verge of committing suicide, or he was wandering around on the streets and living under a bridge, do you think this would be a tremendous priority for Doug Collins?
Well,
Do
I
you?
don't disagree with you, Chris. I'm not trying to give him a pass, but I did hear it when Darren said that he has the least political appointees of any agency. So he has the least members on his team that have his back of any agency. And that's just a tough spot to be in. Now, I will say, and this is something we talked about, I haven't heard Doug Collins speak up in any of these cabinet meetings. I don't know anything about what he's doing. Now, maybe it's not something that I've been looking for, but I have not heard very much from him. So I pray that he is doing what it takes and positioning, trying to get the people into place to do what needs to be done. But I can say it sounds like Darren's not sure of that. And if he's not sure of it, I certainly can't be sure of it.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a very good point. It is the entire bureaucratic structure of the Veterans Administration is pitted against Doug Collins and pitted against anybody, I think, who wants to institute real reform and real accountability. No doubt about that. So
And look, I'll tell you one other thing, Chris. I would be so pleased. You know what? If they would go in and just fire way more people than they need to. Why not? Why not just fire more people than you need to fire, so that way you can build back in a way that's going to be healthy and provide the kind of care and access that people deserve. If you get it wrong, if you fire some good people, so what? It happens every single day in corporate America.
yeah, I mean, if they just fired 10 rotten apples for every 50 or 100 that they hire, maybe we would be in better shape. Who knows? But I cannot think of any issue, Danielle, that evokes such emotion and anger in me that the very agency that is supposed to be serving and protecting and healing these men and women are destroying their lives. And I guarantee you there is a direct link between the way many of these soldiers have been treated by the VA and their ultimate decision to kill themselves. There's no question about it. And you have people like Jeremy Harrell and others out there, Boone Cutler, who are doing so much good, and the VA tries to destroy them, tries to destroy them. They can't just say, look, I know we're incompetent and we don't like veterans for whatever reason, but you know what? Let's at least be decent enough not to try to cut the legs out from under other nonprofit organizations who really are trying to fill the vacuum left by our black morass of incompetence and hostility in this agency. Let's at least leave them alone. But they can't even do that.
Yeah,
They
and
want to,
if you think about them going after outsiders that way, imagine what it's like to be a good person, a good
on the inside. Yeah.
honorable person on the inside. It's just that bad. They are that vicious.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. And again, Danielle, just for me to round out here, this is the very reason why Thomas Jefferson said we have to have a government that is simple and frugal and
Yeah.
accountable. That's
Yeah.
what Thomas Jefferson said. And this is just the opposite of what he prescribed and recommended. And look at the result of it. Well, I hope that that Doug Collins does what he needs to do. Again, this should be his number one priority, to clean this up. Because right now, Danielle, because of all this incompetence in the VA, what did he say? 68, 65%, 66% of these veterans are having to get private insurance that they're having to pay for. That's another disgrace of the whole deal. Why should a military hero have to pay anything for health care? Hell, illegal immigrants in this country aren't paying for their health care, but you have military veterans paying out of pocket God knows how much for their health care? That's a disgrace, an absolute disgrace.
Yeah, it's worse than a disgrace. I agree with you.
Anyway, I know people, the reason why I'm emotional about this is because I know guys who are suffering tremendously because of the incompetence in the VA. And it's just an issue that resonates with me for that reason. Not only because I know these guys personally, but just because it is so fundamentally unjust. And that's it for me.
Yeah, it is. It's absolutely unjust, Chris. And I'm just grateful that we had an opportunity to give voice to this issue today. I think it's an under spoken about issue. It's an under recognized issue, and one that we need to amplify. So we'll encourage everyone to go to veteranaction.org and take action. Let your legislators know that you believe that our veterans deserve better and you expect them to vote in a way that reflects that.